Okay, we are on 96A, and we got up to the Mishnah about halfway down the page. A note, so now we're going to get to the details of removing the Gid Hanasha and what exactly has to be removed. Hanotel Gid Hanasha, when you're taking out the Gid, Tzarich She'itel Eskula, you have to remove the whole thing. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kedei L'kayim Bo Mitzvahs Netila. So he says that the point, the way I would phrase this is that the point is um, the removal of the gid, but not like getting all the way, not to get too wrapped up in the details. We'll see what this means exactly, but basically, if you go back to the story of the origin of the Gid prohibition, which is the struggle of Yaakov Vinu against the mysterious person or angel, and he was injured al kaf hayarech. On the kaf literally means a spoon, but I guess there's like a spoon-shaped bone in the thigh. Maybe it's the joint, and there's a nerve, the sciatic nerve that goes through that area. So Rabbi Yehuda is saying that that's really the main part that has to be removed. The nerve continues all the way down the leg, as you've probably seen in diagrams. Um, so he seems to be saying that that's not so important. The main thing is what the Torah refers to in that incident, which is al kafay arech, the gid, which is on that rounded part of the thigh. Now, if you eat a kazayis of the gid, you get 40 lashes. A chol vein bo kazayis. What if you eat less than the kazayis? Chayev. So um, uh, there's still lashes involved, and we'll see. I think the Gemara will say this, but basically, when you have an entire, usually the shir achila, the measure of how much of a forbidden thing you need to eat before you get the punishment of lashes, is a kazayis. However, what about, let's say, the Gemara elsewhere discusses an insect, like you have an ant. So you're not allowed to eat an ant, but an ant is certainly less than the kazayis. But if you eat an entire ant, you still violate the Isur in the sense that, full sense, in that you get the punishment, you get the lashes. So here too, we're saying that even if the whole Gid Hanasha is less than a kazayis, but if you eat the whole thing, then you're liable. What if you eat a kazayis of the right side and the left side Gid? Sofek Shmonim. Then you get two sets of lashes, 80 lashes. Rabbi Yehuda says only one set of lashes. And we've seen already actually that Rabbi Yehuda's view is that it's either the right leg or the left leg that is subject to the prohibition of Gid Hanasha. So if you eat a right leg and a left leg, manashach, you consumed one, you consumed the Isur for sure, but only one. Because the right side, let's say, if the right side is forbidden, you ate that one, and then the left side is not forbidden, you ate that one too, but that's not a problem. So if you ate both sides, you've violated once. Bar Piule Kame de Shmuel v'Kamenacher Atma. Bar Piule was doing this removal of the Gid Hanasha before Shmuel. Havaka Goim lay, and he was cutting it off at the flush to the surface, but he didn't dig any deeper. Amalei Shmuel said to him, "Chus beitvei, dig deeper, get all the gid out. If I hadn't seen you doing such a rudimentary job, you would have ended up giving me non-kosher food." Um, Irtas and Bar Puli was shocked. He was stunned. He was like, I guess he was very chastened by Shmuel's statement that he was doing it wrong. Nafal sakin, and he dropped the knife. Amalei. Shmuel said to him, "Look, Tirtas, don't be so afraid. To Orilach, Rabbi Yehuda Orilach. Whoever, like, you're not such a bad person, right? It's not like I think that you're deliberately preparing meat in a way that's not kosher. You clearly were taught like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, what you're doing is fine. So like, don't take it so. I'm teaching you, my view, but I'm not implying that you were, negligent before or doing it wrong before. You were following, the teaching of Rabbi Yehuda. I just don't agree with that. Amar Sheshes, Rav Sheshes said about this, my deshakel bar piyule do raisel Rabbi Yehuda. Um, what Bar Piyule was actually removing was the part of the gid that, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is forbidden doraisa, right? Because Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to dig all the way down. So Michlal the Shar de Rabbanan Rabbi Yehuda. Wait a minute. So are you saying that? So what he was doing was taking out the Raisa according to Rabbi Yehuda. That implies that there was a Rabbanan that Rabbi Yehuda holds that okay, the Midaraisa, you don't have to dig so deep. Midarabanan you do. In that case, he was doing it wrong according to Rabbi Yehuda. I mean, sure, it was only Rabbanan, but certainly, Bar Piule would not have been satisfied with only taking out the Doraisa and not the Rabbanan. So he was right in being taken aback. Elam Roshesha. So Roshesha says as follows: My deshakal bar pule doraisa. What he left over, or what he took out, was the full doraisa, the biblical prohibition part is what he took out. My deshir derabanan l'Rabbi Meir, and what he did not take out was not according to Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Meir, that it's derabanan. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, he was fine because according to this view, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have any problem, any drabanan problem. You take out the dorais and you're done. But according to Rabbi Meir, sure, that was the dorais you took out, but midrabanan you have to go deeper. Umay dishir, yeah. Di Rabbi Yehuda feel midrabanan shy, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, once you've taken out the dorais, you're done. There is no drabanan to worry about. Okay, so then that explains the Shmuel incident. So ha'ochel migidanasha. So the Mishnah said if you eat a kazayas of the gid or the entire gid, you get lashes. Amar Shmuel. Lo asr Torah ela she'ala kaf bilvad. The only isur daraisa is the part on that rounded shape of the thigh. Shenamar al kafayarech. As I said, the when the Torah describes the incident with Yaakov Avinu, it says we don't eat the gid because Yaakov was injured on his thigh, on that rounded part of the thigh. Um, Amar of Papa Ketanai. We have a machokas tanaim. Achal vein kazayis. If you eat the gid but less than the kazayis chayiv, then you're still liable. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad sheyehebo kazayis. Rabbi says no. It has to be. It's only a kazayis. Even if you eat the whole thing, you're still not liable. We'll see why in a minute. My Talmud Rabbanan. What's the reason of the rabbis that you get lashes even though you didn't eat the whole, even though you didn't eat the whole kazayas, but you did the whole thing. It's an entire thing, right? Like I said about the ant. Um, if you eat the whole gid, even if it's not a kazayas, that's still you're still prohibition you're liable for. Rabbi Yehuda. So why does Rabbi Yehuda say you're not chayav lashes? Achila kasiva be, because um, it's written about the uh, but when the Torah says lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael eskid hanasha, it's adding the detail um, that it's indicating that it has to be a shur achila. So ordinarily we would say that a whole gid you'd still be chayav, but Rabbi Yehuda says because the Torah uses this extra indication of lo yochlu, it means shir achila, that this is an exception. Even if you eat the whole gid, if it's not a shir achila, you're not liable. Rabbanon. So how do the rabbis interpret that? Hayechila, that when it says lo yochlu, dechiis be arba v'chamisha kazesim v'yachal chad kazayis mechayev. That tells you um, that you don't have to eat the whole gid hanasha in order to be liable. Let's say you have a very large gid hanasha that's multiple measures of kazayis, and you only eat one kazayis worth, then you're still chayav. That's what you get from lo yochlu. Rabbi Yehuda. So what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Me'asher al kafay areichin nafka. That he gets from the fact that it says lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael skid anashe asher al kafay areich. In other words, you have to eat the whole al kafay areich. You have to eat the whole thing in order to. No, sorry. Asher kafirich, that teaches you that you get lashes for a kazayis even if you didn't eat the whole thing. Okay, like exactly how you get that from those words, but maybe it's just the fact that it's extra. Rabbanan. So what do the rabbis say with that phrase? Al kafeirecha hu mevayle likid Shmuel. That's what Shmuel needs it for. The Amar Shmuel, lo asar Torah ela shal kafeirech. That tells you that, oh, that's Shmuel's idea that what you're chayav for is only the git hanasha that's on that rounded part of the thigh and not the further deeper parts. Rabbi Huda. But what about Rabbi Huda? Hayarech kasiv. It's already written, the thigh, the chuli yarech. It means the whole thigh is prohibited. Um, so Rabbi Yehuda does not agree with Shmuel. So that's how you can have this difference of how you interpret al kaf hayarech. For Rabbanan, what about the rabbis? What do you get from like the fact that it's true? It does say yarech hahilu hahu de pashi disure b'chulei yarech. That tells you that the Gid Hanashe prohibition is the whole the b'chulei yarech the whole thigh, which apparently in this case means, as we'll see in a second, it means the inner part of the thigh. La puke chitzon delo, when it branches out to the outside of the thigh, that's not the that's not the Gid Hanasha, that's prohibited. Uliolam shalakaf, but really it's only the part of the inner thigh that's on the thigh itself that is the one that's asur in terms of getting your makos, your lashes. So it's a little. It's a little hard to see what the Gemara is getting at, but the bottom line is that so the Rabbanan would hold like Shmuel that the Gid Hanasha is only on the rounded part of the thigh, and Rabbi Yehuda would say it's the whole thing that goes all the way down the leg. Okay, and that's how you can have this dispute about from the same psukim, you can have the dispute about what exactly makes you chayav malchus. Wait a minute. We already used the phrase the kaf hayarech, the rounded part of the thigh. Um, we already used that word to tell us that it only applies to mammals which have that rounded thigh and not to birds, right? Saying that birds were not forbidden from their eating their gid hanasha. So why is this trey kaf ksive? You know what? It's written twice in the Torah, right? It says, yeah, the whole pasuk is the lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael is gidon asher al kaf hayarech. You can't. That's why we don't eat the gidon asher, which is on the round part of the thigh. Ki nagah b'kaf yerech Yaakov b'gidon asher, because the angel or whoever, the messenger, injured Yaakov on kaf hayarech, on that round part of the thigh. So it says it twice, so we can learn two things from it. Yeah, Trey Kaf there's two times it's written Kaf, so that's why we're okay. Next Mishnah, Yarech shenisbashal ba gid hanasha. What if you did not remove the gid hanasha and you cooked the animal, you cooked the thigh, so it's still got the gid in it? Does that make the whole dish not kosher? So Mishnah says, if the thigh contains enough meat that it would give flavor to the rest of the stew, to the rest of the dish of the thigh, then then it's forbidden. Case of Mishari knows, but how do you measure it? Because it doesn't make sense. Like this is all if you have a thigh of an animal, everything in it presumably has a similar taste, right? So if the gid hanasha has the same taste as the surrounding meat, then how are you going to determine what is no saint tam? So the Mishnah answers kibasar belefes. So you think of the whole thing of the whole thigh as something else. Like if this were beans or what is lefes? Turnips. If this were turnips, okay, and you had the gid hanasha in that proportion mixed into the turnips, would the gid hanasha give taste to the turnips? If the answer is yes, then it's no saint tam. The answer is no, it's not no saint tam. So that's how you determine what no saint tam is in when you have the gid in the thigh. Now, what if you have a mixture of the forbidden gid with all the other sinews in the which are permitted, or which are kosher? right? Not the gid hanasha, but other gidim. It's all mixed together and they're cooked together. Bisman shemakiro, if you can remove the gid hanasha from the stew, then um, then benosin tam. Then the only way the stew is prohibited is if there was enough gid hanasha, enough forbidden gid in there to give taste to the rest of the stew. Vim lav, but if there's not enough to give taste, kulan asurin, and the whole stew is no good. V'harotev benosin tam, and the broth, gravy, whatever, of the broth is also prohibited if the ghee gives would is enough to give it flavor. Um, the same rule applies to nevela. And the same applies to non-kosher fish. If it's mixed together with kosher food, if they were cooked together, and if you can remove the prohibited part, then benosin tam. Then when is the kosher part still kosher? If there's not enough of the forbidden part to impart taste to the stew. Um, Vim lav, but if you can't recognize the prohibited parts, then kol nasuros, you can't eat any of it because you might be eating the actual forbidden part. V'harota b'nosin tam, and the broth in which it's cooked is also prohibited only if the same proportions, only if the asur part gives flavor to the broth. Okay, so David said we should stop here. He's going to pick up, he's recording tomorrow's share. It will not be given in person, but he will pick up from here, from the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom in the recording that will be published. Okay, have a good day, everybody.
Have a good
Robert, you
day.
can hear me okay, right? Because yesterday apparently the recording didn't have any sound, but
Well, maybe the recording didn't, but I heard you fine
yeah,
live.
okay. So it's not a me problem. It's a Zoom problem. Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Mhm.